there, and welcome back to the channel. So, quick update on my Ovation Breadwinner. I've been updating the channel every time something new happens with it. I've got it playing well. I used it to play a song, or write a song called Spy of Love. Yeah, I wrote it on it. Yeah, I did. And so I really like the way it sounds. I basically used this guitar like an acoustic guitar. The pickups, I don't really think that the distortion on them sounds great. Like, they're not made to sound like a Les Paul at all. It's more like a cool looking acoustic guitar. And I love, it has real lush, clean tone. My electronics aren't perfect, so as long as I don't touch anything and I leave it in the neck pickup and everything, I don't mess around, everything sounds fine. Ideally, I would take everything apart, clean up these electronics, see if I can get them working better. But, you know, if you were really going to make it a great player, I would say take the pickups out and replace them with something. You could still do active if you insisted upon it, but I would make it a little simpler. But this is a prototype. I don't want to change it. If I were to do anything, it would be take this off, have a new pickguard made, and then, you know, the pickups that would fit into the route. No rerouting or anything like that. Just because this one's a prototype, and it's in such a nice condition, and it plays, and I have tons of other guitars, so I'm not depending on it for anything. I'll probably just leave it as is. I've even thought about refretting it because the frets are, you know, probably 60% of the way gone, or maybe 70%, especially right in here on the G string, all the way down. But once again, I'm not relying on this guitar. It's a collector piece for me because of the whole Ovation Breadwinner story attached to Partridge Family and Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour. But anyway, I was having one last little struggle just sitting around playing it acoustically. I had battled with several things, and one of them was a really bad headstock rattle that I could not pinpoint. Now, I had gone every which way with this thing, lifting the bridge, lowering the bridge, making sure my nut was okay. I'd done all kinds of things like that. Messed with intonation, tried to get it, you know, dialed in exactly where I want it, and I eventually did. The action is lower probably than any guitar I own besides my Les Paul Custom, and it's not by choice. I've lifted it up, and it seems to have a sweet spot right around in here. Sounds very live and vibrant now. You know, with these nylon saddles and the nylon bridge. Now, everything was fine. Tuners were, you know, they're not the original tuners, but they seemed like they were on there. But I was getting this rattle, and I thought maybe it's this, you know, the frets aren't great. Maybe that's creating some kind of rattle. But I was like, I've never heard a rattle like that before. And then I was like, well, maybe it's the nut. So I did a little, just tiny bit of making sure there was nothing in the nut. Didn't do any actual, you know, just made sure it was clear. No burrs, you know. Then I went around with my tools and made sure that these were screwed in properly to the headstock, the tuning machine heads, and the, you know, the tuners. Made sure they were mounted. I got my, you know, wrench and just went around and made sure that they were tight enough. And I tightened up, you know, the bolts here, make sure those weren't loose. Came down here, looked around me like, what is it? Like, it was just driving me nuts. Like, every time I hit an open chord, especially when I hadn't picked up the guitar for a while. After a while, for whatever reason, inexplicably, it would go away after a while. Maybe it warmed it up or something. I don't know. But I couldn't figure out what it was, and I felt like I had done everything I could do. I mean, I knew nothing down here was rattling because this is all, you know, close to the body and just wasn't making any noise. The bridge was working great. I got the action right. Nut seemed fine. Everything, like I said, was attached on the headstock, but I was still getting this like buzz rattle, and I could tell that all the energy of the guitar was getting lost, or like a good bit of it. So I did a quick search, headstock rattle repair. I think I was using Bing. And I found some site, I forgot the name of it, but the guy on the site, it was like kind of a blog. I think it was leading to selling something. It was just like one of those pages you put up to grab some search, metadata or whatever. But it had a great piece of advice. It was like, check your truss rod. Sometimes the truss rod, over time, the little washer that's up there will get loose between the body and the actual truss rod, and rattle. Just like enough space in there to just get a little rattle going when you hit maybe an A chord, a big A chord, big Pete Townsend D chord. That was just enough to set it off. The fix for it, you don't even have to know much about truss rods or anything. I just took the three screw truss rod cover off carefully, removed that. I loosened the two middle strings here so that I could kind of move them out of the way. You know, had the truss rod cover off. I got my little truss rod tool, which I just bought. It's made by Taylor, but it's your basic truss rod for like a Gibson style guitar. You know, the PRS or Gibson, that type of truss rod, as opposed to the Fender where it has the hole and you go into it or just do it from down here. This one is up here and you use that special tool. So knowing that all had to be done was like a little adjustment to get that washer to stop moving, I just looked down at the neck, did a little slight tweak. I tweaked it just a little bit back this way. It was a little off, a little bit of relief was making it drop right here, and I just lightly, I mean it was just the lightest tweak, not even a quarter turn, like an 16th of a turn, just enough to reseat that washer and the truss rod between that and the wood. Just readjust, not like a big neck adjustment, because it really didn't feel like it needed one. I didn't see any kind of relief issues, and it didn't feel like it was too flat or anything like that. It was just buzzing. So a quick tweak, put everything back. No more rattle. And you only really heard it acoustically. You didn't hear it through the amp, but it would drive me nuts. And I could hear it in the room, like when I'd start playing. It's gone now, and that's the best it's ever sounded acoustically. And my theory is that because this was loose, it was letting out energy. So now instead of it coming from here, emanating the way it's supposed to, it was like, you know, a leaky ship. It was losing a little bit of its tone. A lot of it was like draining out. It's just glorious. No more buzzing. And I'm slowly getting the smell off of this thing. It smells like old, like the smell of those. I hate any kind of scents, you know, like people put scents on everything, like everything now is so scented, like laundry detergent and stuff like that. It smells like some kind of like wicked scented laundry detergent, like maybe some sort of dryer sheets or something. And it's getting so much better. It used to be unbearable, like this, you know, fabricated fruity smell, you know, fruit with alliteration. All right, next time.